Okay.
Hey, what's up? This
Live now, right now.
Hey now.
Right. Go.
Hey, this is Al from the Black Spinners Circle Vidcast. How you doing, guys? My co-host Andy Rodriguez below me. How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Al. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're co-hosts, and it's your show, our show. You know, I got Lucky Eddie to my right. I think I dropped something here. Eddie Canestracci, man, what's up, dude?
Hey, you hit me up about this a couple days ago, and I liked the idea, and I was doing nothing on a Wednesday night, so you got lucky. I'm back.
Oh yeah, man. So yeah,
it's always fun hanging out with you guys, And,
no, I appreciate it.
Hey, Andy, you got to get to Florida sometime so you can hang out with me and Al. And go to
Andy, yeah.
I should, right?
Yeah.
I don't know when though. I just got my lights back on yesterday, so one step at a time.
Okay. I like how the beard's growing out. It's looking really nice. You're looking really wise, like this badass wizard. I like it.
He is a wizard.
Though.
Hey, you look like you have powers. I like it.
Thou shalt not pass.
But
Anyway,
it'd be like on a prog rock album cover from the 70s.
Like a Kansas album cover or something.
Yep. With a robe.
Oh man. Well, anyway, so the show tonight is I came up with the idea since we're in the 7th month of the year, July. I wanted to do songs that have 7 or luck in the title. Now
I see. Okay.
That doesn't have to.
I got confused.
It doesn't have to be
you
in the title.
said songs about luck.
About luck. It doesn't have to be in the title.
Doesn't have to be in the title?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, no.
Okay, good. Because I got a couple that it's not in the title, but it is like
it's about luck. Yeah,
the theme of the song.
Yeah. Now, when I was like actually going and making up a list, I was like, "Fuck, dude! I should have just kind of did one or the other." Because there's a lot of songs that have 7 in the title, and then there's a lot of songs about luck. So it's
there's
kind
a lot
of
of songs called Lady Luck. There's like 20.
Yeah.
And they're all different songs.
So I was like, shit, man, like I kind of, but 7 has to is a lucky number. It has to kind of do a luck. So,
well, that's what I did. I didn't even think about this being the 7th month, actually. So when you said that, I thought I connected that with the luck thing. I actually only have one song on this list that has the number 7 in it. Because I was picky. I was like, I'm not going to use songs just because it's the number 7. It has to have something to do with fortune or luck or fate. Like I was being, maybe because I'm a writer, I might have overthought it, but I was being kind of thematic with it. So like the 1-7 song I picked had to have something kind of, I don't know, mystical about it. Or like something to do with fortune. Like I don't have any, just it's there just because it's the number 7.
Yeah. See, I kind of
that Mark Daly. He's right in that. Because it's about Maiden, so I thought it might be Mark Daly.
That was me.
That's an old show title.
I keep on hitting it by accident, but on my list, all 10 songs have the word luck in it.
Wow.
And then my 5 honorable mentions, I say for the number 7.
I went the reverse than you ain't. So there's going to be 3 different lists, man.
So we got 3 different.
So I did. Yeah, so I did reverse. So my main 10 songs have 7 in the title.
Wow.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna separate it, man. So I put the main 10 have 7s in the title. My 5 honorables I have luck or have something to do with luck. So, but I mean,
I think our list will be interesting because they'll all be kind of different from one another.
It'll be interesting.
Too many songs overlapping.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So it'll be definitely be different. So anyway, we're gonna get to our what's spinning section. I don't know, Eddie, man, what have you been listening to past couple days, week, whatever? I've
been. This happens periodically in my life because he's one of my favorite artists. But this week I've been listening to a lot of Miles Davis, but normally when I listen to Miles Davis, like a lot of people, I kind of focus on like a lot of the 60s and early 70s stuff. I love the fusion period, Bitches Bruce, like that era in a silent way. But I also love the stuff with the second great quintet, like Miles Smiles and stuff with Wayne Shorter, Herbie Hancock. I love all that stuff. That's usually where I focus, or once in a while, kind of blues stuff in the 50s. But one era that I totally neglected until this week was his 80s period. His 80s period, I like when I was younger, I thought it was a little too slick, like a lot of like synthesizers and very slick kind of smooth, but yet funky like 80s jazz, the way like jazz sounded in the 80s. And I used to not like it, but I tell you, maybe it's becoming middle age, or maybe it's like because I'm like a middle aged like bachelor now, I'm divorced. It's like kind of perfect middle age divorced man in Florida music. It like sounds like cool music that like, you know, Sonny Crockett would be drinking a drink too, like in a bar somewhere, smoking. Yeah, that like 80s jazz. It's slick, but there's soul to it and sensuality. And Miles is playing. Yeah, and even though Miles is like he's older, he's not quite where he was before. He still plays really amazing. So yeah, those albums. What the Man with the Horn, I've been listening to a lot. Like that's probably the one I've been listening to the most. But Tutu's really good. You're Under Arrest. I like all these albums in the 80s. And if you're into jazz and fusion, maybe some 80s hip hop and R&B, like if you like some smooth, funky R&B, and then I would definitely recommend this era of Miles Davis, which I think gets kind of neglected. And yeah, I've been digging that. Been listening to that like all week. That's what I've been mainly listening to.
What year did he die?
He died, I believe, I think it's 89 or 90. I'd have to. I feel bad. I should know that, but
I didn't know that he had a long lasting relationship with actress Cicely Tyson.
Oh yeah, in the 60s. Yeah, she's even on one of his album covers.
Even going into
in 91, he passed away in 91.
91, I remember that too, man.
Yeah.
Because but at that time I was, actually no. It was right around that time when I started working with my older brother. He got me into like a job. And by that time, my brother was very heavy into jazz. He loved, he was a metalhead growing up like me. But then after he got married and moved out of the house, he became like this jazz head. He was going to jazz clubs and checking out, stuff like that. And he loved Miles. So I remember when I started a job, Miles had just passed away. So it was kind of, you remember him being kind of bummed about that. But we listened to a lot. He got me into jazz because we listened to a lot of jazz at our office. He had a radio there and he had a lot of jazz CDs and stuff. And then it was a good jazz station too in the New York, New Jersey area that played a lot of good jazz. So we played. I mean, we didn't always like 24/7 listen to jazz, but there was times when we had it on most of the day. And I got into it, man. It was like different, and I was only like 19 or 20 at the time when I started working with him. So I was still young, still very much into hard rock, metal, hip hop, things like that. But he kind of broadened my palette, so it was cool. Jazz is fucking, I mean, that's an American art form, dude.
Yeah. It's a great thing. I definitely think I was around the same age when I got to it. And like you, I was more of a rock guy beforehand. But yeah, I mean, jazz, especially if you need like to cross over, that's like the fusion stuff that Miles did. It has rock elements. So I think that's a good way to kind of transition. But just in general, yeah, I love jazz. It's the American art form. And it also makes you appreciate even going back when you listen to things like even like Black Sabbath or Pink Floyd or Rush.
You can hear the jazzy elements.
You can hear the jazz in it, and it helps. Like there's another layer of musicality that you can appreciate if you learn that vocabulary and like your ears acquire. It's like anything, you acquire taste, like acquiring taste for scotch, and it's just a deeper layer of music. If you just love music, jazz to me is like one of the purest forms of music because it's like impressionistic art. It's just like an image with just the sound. And Miles especially is very, I think, accessible because he was very song oriented, more so than a lot of jazz artists. Not all just soloing for the sake of soloing. Yeah. He was very against that. He was very melodic, and he liked to use his horn like a vocal. He loved Frank Sinatra, how he sang. So he was like kind of singing through his horn. So I think that's another reason why Miles is usually like a good crossover artist. Like, for people who haven't listened to a lot of jazz, definitely, listen to Miles. Miles is a good way to kind of get you into it, I think. So.
Well, that whole thing too, getting into jazz, I started because the early 90s, man, like the hip hop was like kind of like getting very.
Yeah, like a Tribe Called Quest used a lot of jazz samples. And
oh my God, and they were like one of my favorite hip, Even
Same
the
here.
Beastie Boys got jazzy and like
Yeah, the Beastie Boys started actually playing jazz, like on their
Yeah.
albums. They have those little fusion instrumentals.
little check
Yeah.
your head action, like
Yeah.
I love that. The album was still diverse.
That's
You know,
actually kind of what got me listening and opened my mind up to jazz was actually the Beastie Boys. Like,
Yeah.
Because I dug it. I was like, I dug these little instrumentals and that got me into like checking out. Like I wanted to hear. I started actually listening to like blaxploitation soundtracks and things like that and James Brown. And that was like kind of only a step away from the Miles Davis fusion stuff. And that's how I got into it. Eventually I would get into all of Miles Davis and all of his different periods, but it was the fusion stuff that was what, like On the Corner, Pitches Brew, In a Silent Way.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that got me into Miles Davis. And then from there, I expanded both, what he did before and what he did after, But the 80s stuff only recently, only like this week. But I just I bought a bunch of his albums from that period, and I've been really enjoying it. It's just great. I mean, that's the nice thing too about an artist that has a really large discography is you like don't have to take it all in at once. Like, and it's like you could like if it not to say like played out, but if you've heard like the same albums for like about 20 years, it's kind of nice that there's this whole other era that you can suddenly, as a middle-aged man, like just like kind of like, hey, I never really listened to this era before.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like it brings you back, like, hey, I'm like listening to Miles Davis and it's new again. Like,
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about artists, like some legacy acts, like there's not too many, but some like the Rolling Stones or a few acts that have really big discography. Neil Young's one, so it's nice you could like discover different periods later on when the earlier stuff is starting to get a little played out for you.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Yeah.
And I want to say what's up to Adam NC and Jimmy Schwartz. Yep. They're on the chat right now.
Hey, Jimmy James.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for joining us tonight, guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, Andy, man, what do you got, brother, for what's spinning here?
Yeah, well, I've been getting ready for a show on another podcast I'm on called Three Shots Down with Jerry Soupy and Kate Doré, and we were supposed to do it this week, and we weren't able to connect, so we're gonna have to do it next week. But we're going to be doing it on Leonard Skinner. So I've been doing a deep dive on Skinner, but I've been having this one in the car, and it's their greatest hits. It's all-time greatest hits by Leonard Skinner. It's a really good CD. I really do enjoy it. What I really like about Leonard Skinner is that, their lyrics are kind of overlooked. Everyone always thinks of Skinner as some party band, but man, they are quite the opposite of that. They got very thoughtful lyrics. It's a very good band. And what we're going to be doing is talking, mainly about the tragedy, but we're also going to do a quick little run through of how they got to where they were. So I've been listening to this one and Nothing Fancy, which I got the album over here. So I've been listening to a lot of Skinner the past few days.
Nothing Fancy is my favorite Skinner album. I love that album.
Yeah,
they were all good. I mean, when they with the original band, all their albums are good. But my personal favorite is Nothing Fancy.
Yeah, my personal favorite would be the last one. I really do love their last album that they made with the original group, of course. After that, I really didn't.
That's a great album too.
Anything after that?
Yeah, it's not real Skinner. It's Scab Skinner.
Yeah, bad. And not just Scab Skinner, but really took away the identity of the original Skinner.
Yeah, well, Ronnie was a big part of it, and like the lyrics, like you said, they are actually very thoughtful.
Yeah,
and
they changed a big time.
They kind of became like a parody. Like they became like kind of like modern country, where it's like just about the trucks and the Southern identity. Whereas the original Leonard Skinner was far more complex and nuanced, actually.
Yeah, and more of a band for everyone, not just for the Southern way of living. It was just the way that we should be living. Period. Yeah. And that's what I miss about that Skinner. So I don't even give them a shot. I might be close-minded of me, but I'm just not into that. Yeah. So that's what I've been listening to is Leonard Skinner. And I actually had a dream last night that my wife and I went to go see them. and I woke up when they were going into Freebird. I woke up. I said, "What time is it?"
Huge misbehavior. That's funny. Hey Al, what have you been listening to?
Yeah.
So recently I went to a record store and I found a used CD of King's X live all over the place. And I didn't have this one. It was tough to find this one, actually. It was out of print for quite a while. And then when I did find it, it was usually too expensive. I didn't want to spend like $30-$40 for a CD. But I found this one for like $6. So it was double CD. It's actually recorded over a couple of tours, a couple of years. They just it's like a compilation of live stuff. So it's got like an acoustic like section on it, electric, and kind of cool, man. It kind of shows every facet of it. It's a 2 CD set called Live All Over the Place. So that's that. I got that. And that was like missing from my King's X collection. Also, lately I've been spinning Merciful Fate, Melissa.
Oh, nice. It's one of my favorite albums.
Yeah,
that
dude.
was awesome.
And this is the deluxe version. It has like it has a CD and DVD, and the DVD is them in 1983.
Nice.
In Holland. It's only it's not like a full live show, but it's a deluxe edition. It's got like the CD's got the album, and it's got and then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got like 6 bonus tracks. It's got like BBC radio sessions on it, stuff like that. So there's the back of it there.
Cool.
Great album, man. I think I prefer Don't Break the Oath a little bit more than this one. But dude, I mean, to me, like the EP, this and Don't Break the Oath, they're pretty much all like fucking even, man.
They're all pretty close. I do love Don't Break the Oath, but I actually would. I'm the other way around. I would go for Melissa and the EP. I love that first EP.
Yeah, that EP is awesome too.
Yeah.
And then a little Black Sabbath, The Eternal Idol. So I've been listening to some Tony Martin era Black Sabbath because of that new box set that came out. But this Eternal Idol was not on that box set because it was a different label, IRS Records.
Yeah, and that's Warner Brothers.
Yeah, this was still Warner Brothers. So, and he came in originally. Ray Gillen sang this album, and this is actually the deluxe version that has both versions on it. Has the Ray Gillen sessions on it, and then it has the ones with Tony Martin's vocals on it. Yeah, so
which one? I'm curious. I have my opinion. Which do you prefer? Tony or Ray?
It's tough, man, because I love both.
I know they sing similar. It sounds almost like Tony Martin played the tracks and then he's kind of emulating.
I think he emulated. I think he just kind of emulated kind of what Ray Gillen did. So really, I don't know. I kind of don't have a. I mean, I guess because I lived with the Tony Martin version longer before I discovered the bootleg. I had gotten a bootleg of the Ray Gillen sessions way before they ever even released this. My friend, who's a huge Sabbath head, had like every fucking bootleg of them, and he burned me a copy of that, and I had that for a long time too. But I don't know, man. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to kind of choose, man. The Ray Gillen one's great too, though, man. I mean, he's got such a great voice. So, but that's kind of the 3 things I've been like spending this week. Over the weekend, past couple of days. So
awesome.
So yeah, man. So let's get to the topic at hand. Songs with 7 or luck, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna start with Eddie, number 10. What do you got, brother?
I need to preface though, just to explain to people.
What's your approach?
My approach was because you said songs about luck. So I didn't. Obviously, there are a few songs in which luck is in the title. Yeah. But I didn't want to make it just that. I took a more thematic approach where it's songs that are about luck or like fortune, fate, like things that I think all kind of fall under luck, where I think it's kind of an element of the narrative of the song. Even with 7, I'll say it right now, I only have one song with the title with 7. And that song, because I was looking, I wanted even the number 7 to have something to do with like fate or fortune or maybe a mystical quality. Like I didn't want it just to be 7 because it was the number 7. But anyway, so that's how I approached it. So it's like, we all have our different approaches.
Yeah.
And here, number 10 is a song that does not have luck in the title, although it is prominently in the lyrics. In fact, I would say it could be the most famous lyric ever in blues. And the song is Albert King's Born Under a Bad Sign.
I figured this song was going to be in somebody's list.
Yeah, because, hey, it's not necessarily good luck.
Yeah.
It's just luck. So I'm including bad luck as well. Yes, this song's famously about bad luck, called in superstition, but bad luck. And it has I would say, if I had any kind of luck at all, it'd be bad luck if I had any kind of luck at all. Yeah. Which I would say that's probably the most famous line in blues. I don't know. It's a pretty famous line. And this was a great song. It was an important song too. 1967. It bridged kind of first time blues kind of really concisely blended with pop R&B, popular R&B, and it charted. And so it was kind of a crossover song that kind of took that kind of Stax soul approach and mixed it with blues. So very important. I think kind of dictated where blues would go for the next 20 years. So very important song. Also, Pat Travers does a really great cover of it too. And we saw him, he played it live when we saw it too. And that I love his version too. They're very different. I like Pat Travers because when he does a cover, he's one of these people kind of like Van Halen when they do a cover. He really makes it his own. And I can't really tell you which version I like better. I love both versions. I love that because I love a lot of 60s soul and Stax stuff. So in the Albert King, so I think he was actually playing with Stax musicians. I could be wrong, but I think that. I don't know too much. I only have that one Albert King album, which it's from the album. It's the title track, Born Under a Bad Sign. Great album. I love it. But yeah, I like the Pat Travers song version just as much. It's very he really expands on it and does his own thing with it. Yeah. And so both great versions, in my opinion, and a great song. And it's kind of the ultimate bad luck song. So to me, it's it's the greatest bad luck song ever. And so that's why Born Under a Bad Sign is my number 10.
Cool. Yeah, man. I've only got one Albert King record. Well, one on CD when he does a live show with Stevie Ray. But the album that I have is called King Plays King, where Albert King plays all Elvis songs throughout the whole album in his way. It's a pretty cool album.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I should listen more. I only have that one Albert King album, and I feel like I love that album. So I definitely should dive deeper into his discography.
Yeah, he's a really fun guy to listen to, even though those are the only two pieces of music that I have by him, but definitely have to find some more. I'm going to start off with something we were just talking about bad luck. Ray Charles with If It Wasn't for Bad Luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all.
Yeah.
There you go, that line.
Yeah, I mean, it's so synonymous in blues and rock music where they all sing a lot about luck, but it's not always good. It always seems to be bad luck when you're listening to blues and rock songs. That's my number 2. I'm going to start off with is with Ray Charles. If It Wasn't for Bad Luck.
All right, cool, man. So my number 10, I'm starting out with a newer a newer band that's come out in the last 6-7 years, and the band's called Dirty Honey. I like them, man. They're kind of have that Aerosmith kind of Black Crowes kind of vibe to them, man. And they play bluesy hard rock. They're very retro in their approach. I've seen them live a couple times. I've actually met them too. Really cool guys. And this song is called Rolling Sevens. So that's really kind of about luck as well. Rolling. Yeah. Everybody wants to roll a 7 in their life, and throughout their life and have luck. This comes from their very first EP that came out in 2019 or 2018, something like that. So really, man, they've only been around recording maybe 5-6 years, but I think they started a little bit before that. And they're a band that's not signed to a major label. They're kind of been doing it grassroots, they're all on their own, through their own they just put their records out independently and they seem to have caught on. They've gotten pretty popular, opening up for the Black Crowes. Actually, I saw them open for them 2 years ago or something like that. And I met them at a radio station. They were doing an acoustic performance. So really cool guys. I got pictures with them and shit. So really cool. So I mean, that's my number 10, Dirty Honey, Rolling Sevens. I like that band. You know, they're definitely a throwback to like older Aerosmith and like, you know, even some Zeppelin and stuff like that. So, so that's my number 10. Well, number 9, Eddie.
My number 9. Okay, this song "Luck" is not in the title or the lyrics, but I do feel the song's about luck. It's PJ Harvey's "Good Fortune." Now, the way she uses good fortune throughout the lyrics is there's bad fortune and there's good fortune, and she talks about how she had bad fortune before in her life, but then she meets this man who is most likely Nick Cave. And that's pretty bad when Nick Cave is the guy who gives you good fortune. But anyway, suddenly she has good fortune. So essentially, it's a lot of times in a lot of these rock songs, luck is utilized in a way. It's romantic because you know most pop and rock songs and R&B songs tend to be about love and romance. But it's a motif throughout the song about I had bad fortune, but then I have good fortune. To me, the word fortune is interchangeable with luck. You know, especially in this context, you know, fortune, fate, luck, to me, they're all pretty much saying the same thing, that this is something that happens to you. And it's a very upbeat song. Normally she's associated with a harder edge alternative rock. And this, I would say, is probably her most melodic and accessible song she ever did. It's really just great pop rock song. It's from a 2000 album of hers called Stories from the City, Stories from the Sea. And the whole album was very accessible. So it was kind of like her crossover accessible. A little kind of like, I would compare it to kind of like Whole Celebrity Skin, where like that album was like noticeably a lot poppier than what they had done before. Likewise, this was definitely her poppiest album. It had a few darker moments here and there, but for the most part, it's a very friendly, accessible, different kind of PJ Harvey than you might be used to. I love a lot of her stuff. I'm a fan of a lot of her harder edge stuff. But this is a really nice album, and if you never really listened to her stuff, this would actually be a good album and a good song to listen to first because it's very accessible. And to me, it really captures that feeling of things going your way. You know, when you got like, you know, and that's how you feel when you're in love and everything just starts going your way. And that's the thing, like luck or good fortune is like, it leads to other things. Like it's kind of kinetic in the same way bad luck leads to more bad luck sometimes. It's like the dominoes kind of effect. And that's just something I was thinking about when listening to these lyrics. So that's why I wanted to include it, because I think it captured the essence of what good luck is in the same way the last song captured the essence of bad luck. You know?
Good one, man. Cool. I'll have to check that out. I don't, you know, I gotta check out some PJ Harvey, man. You know,
I would recommend for you because you like. I would go with "Send Me Your Love." That overall is her best album, in my opinion. That's her third album, and that song "Down by the River." I think "Down by the Water." I think that like has it's accessible, but yet has a hard rock edge too. So I think you'd like that album a lot. This is a little more like pop.
She dated Nick Cave?
What?
She dated Nick Cave?
Yeah, during a period. Yeah. They're both gloomy, skinny, pale people, dark hair.
I saw Nick Cave one time open for the White Stripes, I believe.
Yeah,
but it was when he had the band Grinder Man.
Yeah.
So I saw that.
That's a little like when Alice Cooper has to open up for Motley Crue. It's like, yeah. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm not a huge Nick Cave fan myself, but I do have respect for him. He's like one of these artists. My ex-wife loved him, and she was always trying to get me into him. And he's just one of those guys I could never get into Nick Cave.
Isn't it do like murder ballads and shit like that?
Yeah, he does murder ballads. I think they're very heavy-handed. He's very heavy-handed. I think to me, it's a little try hard. I'm not so into him, but he's doing his thing. He's got his own style, you know. And I usually like him in interviews and things. I like the things he has to say. I agree with a lot of his opinions about things, but I can't really get into his music. But PJ Harvey's a different story. I can get into her music. It's always interesting. Her last album's great. That came out just the other year. I actually like everything she's ever done. she's a really, really interesting artist, and she's always doing something different. And yeah, I highly recommend. Yeah, more people should listen to PJ Harvey. They should get into her show.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, what's your number 9?
Yeah, I've heard a couple of albums by her, and I really did enjoy them. She's very, she does what she wants, and it's always interesting. What she's doing. My number 9, I'm going to go with an old school one by Paul McCartney and Wings, With a Little Luck. I've always liked that song by them. I'm not a big Wings fan, but that was a big hit for them. I think those are one of the songs that John would rib at him about. Fluffy, light love songs. But I think those are the Wings songs that I do like.
That's where I would have thought you would have liked Wings. Actually, I could see you liking Band on the Run and Venus and Mars, and you don't like those albums.
No, not.
Wow. Yeah, I would have thought.
I mean, I've got them, but it's not like I listen to them at all. Really.
Wow.
I rarely ever put them on, but I am going to go with a Little Luck by Paul McCartney and Wings.
All right, cool.
So that's my number 9.
I'm sorry, here. I step away. I got a text, but I'm not leaving.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead. All right, man. So my number 9, I'm going with the band TNT. Now they're a Norwegian hard rock band. I'm going with their second album, which is actually their first album, with Tony Harnell on vocals. He was an American that joined up with them because their first album was actually sung they were a Norwegian band.
Mm-hmm.
So it was sung in that language. So the second album was really kind of their first English language album, and that's really kind of when they came onto people's radar because Tony Harnell joined up with them, an American. At that time, TNT they were more in the heavy metal style. They would eventually go on to be a little bit more of a glam metal with the album following this one. But this one was more straight up traditional heavy metal, pretty heavy actually. Ronnie Latecro, great guitar player. Well, anyway, the name of the song is Seven Seas, which starts off their album Knights of the New Thunder. Great album if you're into really great guitar playing. Ronnie Latecro was a bit of a shredder, but they had great songs too. It wasn't just like constant like guitar shredding and that was it. They had the songs to kind of back it up. So great guitar player, very underrated, kind of came out of that hole after kind of Yngwie and all that sort of taking hold. He kind of was like the next in line to really kind of showcase that real kind of shredder style. But again, he had great riffs, great songs, in the heavy metal genre. So yeah, this album was more heavy metal, kind of heavier, and then they went to the next album, kind of a little more of a glammier direction. I'm talking about TNT here. I don't know if you ever heard of them or not.
Oh yeah, I was listening. I did, like I said, I was just on the other side doing a text. Yeah, but I was listening to what you were saying.
So yeah, Seven Seas.
I never really listened. I heard of them, but I never dived into them. But how you're describing them, it sounds like I might like them.
Yeah. I mean, if you like Dokken and stuff like that, I mean, this is right up the same alley, really. Tony Harnell is a great vocalist. He's one of the great vocalists. Kind of, never made it up into that upper tier, but he's like down. He's probably a little bit below like Don Dokken in his prime. You know what I mean? Kind of that style. And I was saying that this is the first time that he joined a band, and this was the first English-speaking album they had. The album they had before this was actually sung in Norwegian. They had a different vocalist. And I don't know if it was the bass player or something. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't have that first album, but I'm kind of interested to hear it, actually. I never really even listened to it, but this is really kind of
TNT. Is that how they spell it?
Yeah, TNT. Yeah,
TNT.
Yeah,
the letter N.
The letter N.
The letter N. Yeah,
like the AC/DC song.
Yeah, yeah, just like AC/DC TNT.
Okay.
So the name of this album is Knights of the New Thunder, and again, it's more a heavier traditional heavy metal. Kind of like the whole Great White thing. Like Great White's first album was really heavy, kind of Judas Freestyle heavy metal.
Yeah.
And then they kind of went to that bluesier kind of direction. This was kind of the same thing, but they went to a more glammier direction with their next album and the ones beyond that. But this is my favorite album by them. To me, this is them at their heaviest and but great songs, great melodic songs. So that's my number 9, TNT 7 Seas. Came out in 1984.
You see, every time I think of TNT or when people mention TNT, I think of that glam era, mid 80s.
Yeah, the next album, Tell No Tales, had the song 10,000 Lovers. That's probably their most well-known song. Yeah, 10,000 Lovers the video got shown on MTV and stuff like that. So really kind of that was really like when people kind of took notice of them. They didn't really know much about like this album before until that one. And I think people went back and they were like, wow, they were a bit heavier on this earlier release, you know. I think a lot of bands, you know, started out like in the early 80s were a bit heavier. And then as glam kind of, you know, they kind of softened up a little bit as time, I guess, to get like hits and things like that.
Yeah,
so,
like Saxon did that. A lot of bands did that.
Trying to get to MTV, trying to get exposure, trying to move up in the ladder.
Exactly.
They're selling out. That's what's
basically.
That's why, but it's not really selling out because that's why you get into this business is to have a job and to fulfill having that job and getting paid.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, to a degree, it depends. There are some people I think are like they think of themselves as artists, like they might actually like that kind of music. Like we're playing the kind of music we like, and then if you're then changing it to get big, yeah, then you're selling out. But maybe, it's possible. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Sometimes the band's got to eat, though. I understand.
I'm not like, and by the way, I'm not like one of these like guys that sing like bands. Like I defend Metallica a lot. Like, you know, like to a lot of people. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Black Album. Like, yeah, it's essentially a like poppier version of Metallica designed for MTV, but it's still Metallica. I mean, it still has their signature sound, just a refined version for a different audience or a larger audience. But I still think they're still like artists that have a unique sound. Like it still didn't sound like Poison or Def Leppard, you know? It just sounded like a poppier Metallica. Like I think like there are compromises. I'm not like saying that but if a band like totally does one thing and then totally does something else just to follow a trend, that I consider kind of selling out. Like that's what I mean. But maybe they didn't even really like the heavy metal stuff either. So who knows? But you say they did a good job of it, so I'll check it out.
All right, number 8, Eddie. Go ahead, brother.
8, okay. A band, I don't know if you guys know. They're an offshot band of a band you might have heard of, the Afghan Wigs. That's the band you would have heard of. Yeah. This is Greg Dooley's other band called the Twilight Singers. Essentially, they kind of started off as a side band, but then he disbanded the Afghan Wigs, and for about 10 years they became Greg Dooley's main band. Like that was his band. And then there was the Afghan Wigs reunion, and then suddenly he didn't do the Twilight Singers anymore. So essentially Twilight Singers more or less were the band Greg Dooley had in between his periods with the Afghan Wigs. I'm a huge Afghan Wigs fan. I'm a fan of Greg Dooley in general. I like everything he does, both Twilight Singers, Afghan Wigs. I do think the best stuff is with the Afghan Wigs, and a couple of solo albums he's had as well. Twilight Singers, which are kind of more or less solo albums, but for whatever reason that they got a band name. This is a song from one of their later albums. It's actually a 2011 album, Dynamite Steps. Not one of their better albums, but this is my favorite song on the album. I love this song, and this song definitely deserves to be on this list because luck is even in the title. A song called Get Lucky. And it's great. It's kind of a haunting, dark, starts off as like a piano ballad with this like dark, haunting piano, but then it kind of kicks in a little bit, but it's kind of a slow, menacing sounding rocker. But like a lot of Greg Dooley songs, like a lot of that, this actually sounds like it would be an Afghan Wigs song if he happened to be recording with the Afghan Wigs that year. But he happened to be with the Twilight Singers this year, so it was a Twilight Singers song. But some songs are like that on Twilight Singers albums. They sound like, if he was with the Afghan Wigs, this would just be an Afghan Wigs song. So it definitely sounds like an Afghan Wigs song. It's dark. It's a very dark song. broody piano, but then it kind of rocks out in the middle. And it's about like a lot of Greg Dooley songs. It's about a woman, and he's leaving this woman. He's breaking her up, and then he says he's going to go off and he'll meet someone else because he gets lucky sometimes, which is a refrain he keeps saying. So essentially about how like this is like a sly, dark guy who's a womanizer, and luck sometimes hooks him up. So even though he lives this way, he gets lucky sometimes. So I thought it definitely fit the theme, and it's a great song. It's one of my favorite Twilight Singer songs. It's an amazing song. I think I posted it actually on Facebook like a year ago or something. One night I was sitting drinking some scotch, and it's that kind of song. But yeah, definitely check out that song. It's a cool song. Get Lucky, Twilight Singers.
Pretty cool. Well,
Julie, huh?
Yeah, have you listened to Afghan Wigs much? Usually Gentleman's the album most people know from them.
No, I know Afghan Wigs, man. I'm not a big. I don't know. I'm not big on like a lot of stuff, but I do know the band, and I've heard songs by them, and I like them. They were very much part of that alternative scene in the '90s, and even earlier, right? Even in the '80s, were they around?
The very late '80s, yeah. They were in the underground. They were in Sub Pop, like Nirvana. Yeah, they were on Sub Pop in the late '80s. Yeah, they kind of peaked. I'd say Black Love and Gentleman in the mid '90s were their two biggest albums. Their last album, I did a video about it. I think it was great a couple of years back. How Do You Burn, which I think is an amazing album. But Gentleman and Black Love are definitely the go-to albums to listen to. Also, 1965, which is also a very accessible album they did in the late 90s. And I would say, they're kind of I would say, alternative rock, but kind of with Greg Dooley likes a lot of soul music, a lot of R&B and soul music from the 60s, 70s. So there's a little bit of that influence. He's also a big Prince fan. And so you get a little bit, there's a sensuality to their stuff, but also I would say Led Zeppelin, loves Zeppelin, and early 70s Stones, like Goat's Head Soup, like era Stones. So like if you like that sound, if you like when the Stones got a little darker and murkier sounding, like in Goat's Head Soup, that's kind of the Afghan Wigs, like that's their jam. Like that's kind of like the kind of songs they do, like dark after hours rock,
Yeah, nighttime.
Nighttime music. That's what even this band, the Twilight Singers, like, it's nighttime music, but it's cool. It's cool stuff. So yeah, definitely check out some Afghan Wigs and Twilight Singers if you haven't.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm just familiar with the Afghan Wigs, just a couple of songs, and of course, hearing their name, especially in the early 90s. But I never really gave them a shot. But now maybe I will, My list is a little bit more popular songs than y'all's are, and I like that. But my number 8, I'm going to go with off of Rock All Over You, Rock and Roll All Over You by Kiss. It's going to be Hard Luck.
Rock and Roll Over.
Rock and Roll. You're thinking of my podcast.
I am. But the name of the song is Hard Luck Woman.
Yeah.
I believe Peter Criss is on vocals, and it's a very nice change to that album. It's a really rocking album, and then they have this mid-tempo rock song on there, which is, I don't know, would you call it like that song you can really hear on yacht rock if you really think about it?
Oh, well, it was Paul Stanley wrote it, and he wrote it for Rod Stewart. He was thinking Rod Stewart would sing it, but then they decided to give it to Peter Criss, who pretty much sang like Rod Stewart anyway. So, so that was the attention. I don't think Paul Stanley did not write that to be a Kiss song, but I think because Beth was so successful, their management or whatever probably said, "No, you crazy? Put that. We want the Catman singing about for the ladies, so put that on." I guess it's a ballad. It has kind of a country feel to it,
Yeah.
Great song. I love that song.
I think
Garth Brooks ended up doing a cover of it on their "Kiss My Ass" the tribute album. So
he did a cover of it. Yeah, it has kind of a country vibe to it. You could totally hear Rod Stewart sing. If Rod Stewart sang it, it would have been like a bigger hit. It would have been
up there.
Yeah, it would have been huge.
It would have been up there with Maggie May.
Definitely has a Maggie May feeling.
Oh yeah, that's a great song too. But that's what I'm going to go with. This Hard Luck Woman by Kiss.
I love Peter's voice too, man.
I love it. It might get an honorary mention. We'll see. But Peter Criss, amazing voice, and he sings that song, But I think probably even a little bit better if Rod Stewart did it. But Peter Criss, if you can't get Rod Stewart, Peter Criss is next best thing.
Yeah,
He sang that song with so much feeling.
Yeah,
you really feel it.
Yeah.
So
and they did a video for that song too. The '70s video with that on the stage and stuff. So
I always just laugh because there's just something funny because Peter's like a really good singer and it's very emotional, but he's still wearing fucking cat makeup. So, so it's always like it's a little hard to take seriously. But you're thinking like God, if he just wasn't wearing cat makeup, you would totally take the song seriously. You see little whiskers, give him a little saucer of milk.
He's got a tail. He's sitting on his tail.
It's like it makes me just think, especially him. I think of all the costumes, Peter Criss is the most ridiculous because it's a cat. It makes me think like Andrew Lloyd Webber, Cats the musical.
Yeah.
Especially when he's singing a ballad. He's like singing a ballad, especially Beth. Because Beth has strings. Whenever I see him singing Beth, so I was like, this is like fucking Cats to me.
Well, I gotta say, man, like this is pretty cool actually. Like how our lists are all, we went different thematic ways in our lists because, Eddie's got that kind of eclectic, fucking alternative kind of thing to it, and Andy's going with a bit more, better known songs and more popular kind of things. And I'm about to get heavier. Man, I'm going Venom.
Yeah, you're going a lot obscure metal.
Yeah, I'm going Venom. Seven Gates of Hell.
I thought of that. I actually thought I love that song and I love Venom, but it was just kind of the number 7. So that's
it's a 7 song. So, like I said, like my thematic thing, I'm just gonna my main 10. I'm going 7, and then I'm going with luck on the honorables. So that's how I split up. The way Andy did it in reverse. I'm doing it the way that's it. But Seven Gates of Hell, man. Actually, never really officially released on an album. It was released on a 12-inch in 1983. Then it got released as a bonus track on At War with Satan in '84. And I love the way it starts off very like kind of spooky and with these sound effects, and then all of a sudden like that thrash fucking Kronos vocals and fucking just nuts, man. I mean, just they definitely, like, when you hear this song, you definitely hear like where Slayer got their sound in the early. Slayer's first album is total Venom, dude.
Yeah.
If you listen to Show No Mercy by Slayer, that's total Venom right there. Very, very Venom influenced. And then Venom obviously went on to influence a whole genre called black metal, because they had an album called Black Metal. But they weren't really black metal as black metal would become known, with like the kind of the way the vocals are and things like that.
Yeah,
but
the story really kind of created the sound.
Yeah, they were more new wave of British heavy metal, kind of, Motorhead kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're kind of like a rawer, heavier, lo-fi Motorhead.
Yeah. They kind of took Motorhead's blueprint and just kind of stepped it up even heavier and rawer, and like you just saying,
with satanic lyrics, kind of like Merciful Fate.
With the satanic lyrics, yeah. So, and even they predate. I mean, were they kind of came up in the same time? I guess, right?
With Merciful Fate?
Yeah, I think they predated Merciful Fate by like a year, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a year. They're close. It's close around the same time. But yeah, I love Venom. Those the first 3 albums, they all got released with a lot of bonus tracks. I took all the bonus tracks and like created a cool other album because they have a lot of great just singles and B-sides.
Oh yeah, man. Yes. And I think they ended up using Seven Gates of Hell as a name of a compilation where they put a lot of the B-sides and things like that on it. And Metal Ben's Chronicles, I know that's totally up your alley, brother.
So, Metal Ben, it's good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you, man. So yeah, that's my number.
Metal Ben. We're talking about Venom. You came
Venom. And like I didn't give Venom a chance back in like when I was younger, but like when I always heard Metallica and Slayer and always talking about how they were an influence on them, I went back and I listened to them. I'm like, wow, dude, it's kind of like I could see kind of totally where the sound came from, And Slayer was a mixture of that and like punk, hardcore the early stuff. You can definitely hear that too in it. That was a Jeff Hanneman thing. I think Jeff Hanneman was more the hardcore punk guy, and I think Kerry King was more the heavy metal kind of Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. So I think both of them together kind of made that Slayer sound.
Oh yeah, you hear a lot. I mean, even Metallica cited them. You don't hear a lot of it in them, but they did cite Venom as an influence.
Yeah.
Overkill, especially early Overkill.
Yeah.
The EP and you hear a little Venom in the Overkill EP, and then their demos and stuff. Exodus a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's my number 8, Venom. 7 Gates of Hell. We'll go to 7. Number 7. The theme.
There you go. Yeah, number 7 for me. Okay, this is the obvious one. This is an obvious song, but I had to pick it. It's something I've been hearing since a little kid. I'm an Italian American, so I had to do this. It's like in my DNA. So Frank Sinatra, "Luck Be a Lady." The best version of the song is the Frank Sinatra version. I don't think anyone argued against that. But I'll just say it's used a lot in movies and things like that. People, I'm sure you guys know the song "Luck Be a Lady." Luck be a lady.
Yeah.
So it's a song I would sing. I always
I grew up in New Jersey, bro. Sinatra was a staple here.
So I'm a huge Sinatra fan. I do love Sinatra, and this is actually from a musical, Guys and Dolls. I'm not a big fan of musicals, and I remember I watched the movie. Marlon Brando was the lead character, and he was hit and miss. When he was great, but sometimes Brando could also not be so great. This was one of the movies where I think he wasn't so great. And he actually sings the song in the movie because he's the main character, even though Frank Sinatra is in the movie, but Frank Sinatra is playing a supporting character. So I remember watching the movie and thinking, what the fuck? Frank's not singing "Luck Be a Lady" tonight. Marlon Brando sings it. And Marlon Brando can't sing. He's a shitty singer. So he just destroys the song. I am convinced that Frank must have hit a studio immediately and recorded his version after hearing Brando destroy it. It's pretty much just on like compilations. I think it was probably a standalone single because it's only on compilations, not on like any proper album. But I do have it on one of those compilations, and it's a classic song. And not only is luck in the title, but it's about luck. It's about the whole idea. Here it's the opposite. Usually luck songs, rock songs and pop songs about luck, it's usually about romance and love, and luck and cards are usually the metaphor, whereas this is actually the opposite. That's what's interesting about the song. Lyrically, the woman is, in the idea of this woman being nice to him, is the metaphor, and it is actually about gambling. It's actually about luck, and he's likening luck to a woman, and he wants her to be nice because he wants to win at this game. I forget, it was like craps or poker. I forget what the game was in Guys and Dolls, but it is actually it is connected to the plot of the movie. But anyway, great song. It's bigger than the movie, better than the movie. It's an enduring Frank Sinatra classic, and if you don't like it, you might not be Italian American. So there you go. Luck Be a Lady.
I might not be. In fact, I'm sure that I'm not. My co-host, the great Al Horta, just came out with Venom, and he was just talking about how our lists are so completely different so far.
Yeah.
Well, he was just talking about Venom, and I'm going to add a little bit to that. My number 7 is "Lucky Star" by Madonna. That was a big hit for her. In fact, it might have even been her first big hit. And then from then on, she went on a decade of just dominating music, movies, the world with her sound. And then she just went way too far. Or maybe it just came up to that after 10 years of having great success, you start to slip off. That's another person that we could talk about that. And right now she's still touring, but man, I don't understand how she's just. I know back when she was younger, she was racy and sexy and all that, but man, she shouldn't be still acting that way when she's in her 60s. It's disgusting. She could actually be doing a really nice, tasteful tour by doing ballads, because she had wonderful ballads that she wrote and produced. She was one of these pop artists that did everything. She really showed her true personality on those first 4 albums. and then she just went into this big sex pot thing that she never let go. But man, when those first four albums, when she was the talk of the world, she could really do no wrong. I even like that movie.
I agree with every statement you made, Andy. I'm actually a big fan of those albums too. In fact, one of those songs I might be talking about that you were just talking about. But yeah, I'm Italian American, so of course that's back when Madonna was Italian American before she became British and fake.
Oh, because when you were talking about Italian American, I was all like, "Is he gonna pick Madonna before me?"
And that's 80s Madonna was real Madonna. She seemed like a girl from Michigan in New York, big eyebrows, sexy. Like her songs were sexy, but they were about other things. And you're right about ballads, stuff like "Live to Tell," "Oh Father." She had amazing ballads, and I mean, I like erotica and some of that stuff in the '90s, but her best stuff is in the '80s, and now she's a train wreck. It's a
train wreck.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
And the thing is that you bought what she was selling. You know, this girl from Michigan who moved to New York City, and she built herself up from the ground up. You followed that. You're like, man, this chick is amazing. But right now, it's either stop what you're doing and just go away.
Yeah, it was disappointing because she was an artist I would have thought would have done interesting things as a middle-aged or older woman, with some substance, especially looking like an album like a Prayer. And like that's got a lot of substance, and it's very mature and eclectic. And like you would have expected her to have more stuff like a Prayer as she was older, and instead she
wrote it. So it's not like she had hired all these people. I mean, that was her.
And she collaborated with Patrick Leonard. They did a lot of great stuff together. Her keyboardist, she wrote the lyrics, the melodies, and she was a good songwriter. She did all the stuff that Taylor Swift gets credit for now. Like people call her, Taylor Swift is a great songwriter. All the Taylor Swift's just coming up with the lyrics and the melodies. Well, Madonna was doing all that in the '80s, and I think her songs were much stronger.
A lot stronger.
Yeah, and I don't think Madonna got enough credit as a songwriter.
Yeah. I don't think people think of her as a songwriter.
Yeah, they don't. But like she came up all those melodies, all those lyrics. She was working. Usually, Stephen Bray and Patrick Leonard is the two people that she co-wrote songs with, and they wrote so many great songs in the '80s. They were like a hit-making team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my number 6 is Madonna.
Wait, that's 7. 7.
Okay.
So my number 7, I'm going with Tool, Tempest. Now the way they spell this is a 7 Tempest, but they pronounce it Tempest, but it has the number 7 in it. The weird way that Tool stylizes certain song titles and things like that, their own brand of wackiness, but it's the last song on Fear Inoculum, which was their last album, which shit already came out in 2020. Came out in the midst of COVID, so it's like 4 years already almost. The album's been out. Because I think I remember it coming out in like August of 2020. So Tempest is the last song on the album. It's a little over 15 minutes. Just a Tool's brand of like prog metal, kind of just all these different time signatures and stuff like that. But I think to me, it's my favorite song on the album. It's the strongest song on the album. I know the album got a little bit panned because it took so long to come out, and people were like, kind of like, oh, well, I expected more from Tool. But if you really, I mean, I know Tool's kind of a band that's very divisive. People either love them or hate them. I like them a lot, since I saw them in '98 on Ozfest '98. I thought, live, they were just incredible with the visuals. I really thought of them as like a modern day Pink Floyd, really, just kind of a mystical kind of thing, but their visuals are just off the charts. So, it's Tempest. Just put a 7 there. That's why I included it in here. It has nothing to do with Luckery and that shit, but it has a 7 in it. So,
so that's the thing.
But I love the song. I'm a big Tool fan. I like them a lot. So I'm going to see Danny Carey from Tool. He's touring with Steve Vai and Adrian Belew and who's the bald bass player again? Tony. That was in
Tony Levin.
Tony Levin. they're doing an '80s King Crimson thing, and Danny Carey is the drummer for that. I'm actually going to go see that. It's going to come down here in Florida in like September, I think. So a buddy of mine has an extra ticket. He actually, he bought 2 tickets. His friend couldn't go, so he's like, "Dude, you go with me, man." He's my coworker actually, so really into like all different styles of music. Me and him bond over music while we work if we ever work together and stuff. So, yeah, man, he's good. I'm gonna go see that. I'm very kind of interested in seeing like that lineup. And Danny Carey's just the kind of drummer that could play like that kind of material anyway. Very, very great drummer, so percussionist and stuff. So, but number 7 is Tool and Tempest. So we'll go to number 6, Eddie.
All right, finally, Metal Ben's still there. He'll be happy. I finally have a metal selection. Dokken. Just got lucky. Yeah, I had to have Dokken. Just got lucky. I mean, a lot of people know Dokken's one of my favorite bands. They're great, and the songs about luck, bad luck, bad woman. Don Dokken, poor Don, always with these bad, evil women.
Oh man,
his heart.
It's always about like fucking relationships gone wrong.
Yeah. There's not too many like, "Hey, this woman's great. I'm having a great time" song from Don Dokken. But although he didn't actually write this one, this is actually Jeff Pilson and George Lynch. Yeah, pretty much Pilson like wrote the lyrics and the melodies. George Lynch came up with that really cool guitar line, which to me always sounded a bit like Baker Street. It's great. It's a great melody. It showed that even like Jeff Pilson and George Lynch could write a poppy song, and lyrically it does kind of sound like something more. You would think it was a Don Dokken song. That normally he wrote the poppier songs about women breaking his heart. So, but I guess Jeff Pilson was trying to mirror. I think he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna write a song for Don. I'll write a hit for Don," and it should have been a hit. Should have been a bigger hit than it was. It's a really, really catchy song, like a lot of Dokken stuff. And watch my Dokken videos, listen to my podcasts. I mean, I've talked a lot about Dokken over the years.
They play that song live a lot, though. That was
it's a hit, like in the Dokken world.
Yeah.
It's one of their big songs, but it's not like Rats, like Round and Round, or Motley Crue, like Dokken never really got quite to that level. Like even like. But in my dreams, I listen in my dreams and I go like, why is that like not like just a top 10 hit period? Like why was that not like a big,
exactly?
Like they were writing some really melodic songs, and but still rocking. Of course, this is from Tooth and Nail, which is the greatest Dokken album. I don't think anyone would say otherwise. Tooth and Nail. I mean, it's perfect. It's heavy. It's got, but yet melodic in places and. Yeah, but Just Got Lucky. One of my favorite songs, one of my favorite metal songs. It's really catchy, and it's about bad luck, a bad, evil lady. That's poor Don. He never has good luck. So yeah,
poor Don. But I always thought that Dokken deserved to be spoken about with those other upper tier bands. I liked their songs a lot more. I thought they were easier and more accessible, and they have the better guitar player. And I thought their lyrics were a little bit more a
little more substance,
but more relatable.
More substance, yeah,
and a little more soul to it, yeah. And also their albums are more consistent too.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah. But I like Under Lock and Key a little bit more.
That is a great album. That is my That's my second favorite album. It used to be Back for the Attack, but these days I say Under Lock and Key. It's kind of a perfect album.
But Back for the Attack,
that 3-album run though was a great run, man.
Yeah, I mean those 3 albums, boom, boom, in a row. Exactly. I mean that's the trifecta. I like Breaking the Chains too, but in terms of their 3 best, definitely Tooth and Nail, Under Lock, Key, and Back for the Attack.
It was just that perfect window.
Yeah, I will say I'm a big fan of Dysfunctional too. When they came back,
I love that album. Yeah, I feel like that's a different thing, but it's great.
Yeah.
It's a different sound, but that's really great. I also love Erase the Slate.
Oh yeah,
really good. Red Beach plays on that one. That's actually I love Dysfunctional, but I'd go for Erase the Slate's my favorite post the classic line.
Yeah.
The last one was really good. Yeah, the one Freddy Krueger reviewed. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I'm friends with Freddy Krueger, and he reviewed the last Dokken album for me.
Oh,
and,
I gotta see it, man. I didn't see
yeah,
it.
it's on YouTube. You didn't watch it? Okay. It's my Halloween special. Freddie Krueger reviewed that Heaven Comes Down. But that's a really good album. I thought that was their best album since Race to Slate. So,
Wow.
Yeah, good stuff. Dokken.
All right, man. Andy, number 6.
Yeah, my number 6, I'm going with a band called Smoking Popes. They came out in the early.
I remember them.
I've never
They came out in
heard
the early
of these
'90s
guys.
with a great album called Born to Quit. It's one of my. It's actually one of my top 25 albums of all time. That's how much I like this band. But the Smoking Popes came out with with that album, and in the middle of the album was this great track called My Lucky Day. It was a great song. I remember it was for the 25th anniversary. They toured on this album, and they played this album in its entirety. And they were coming to Houston, and I said, "Man, I gotta go see the show." But I was at a birthday party, and it was for my uncle, and I didn't want to leave, but I skipped out anyway. I went down to the show, and when I got there, the guy goes, "Well, they've already started, but come on in." So I got in for free. When I walked in, it was a little stage. It was like that far off the ground. I'm sorry, it's like that far off the ground. The old school days where you were able just to walk up and feel the amps and all that. And there were only like 15 of us there. But dude, it was such a great show. We sang every word to every song. It was just a great time. So
That's cool, man. Shows like that are awesome.
Oh yeah, dude, it was great. Just that everybody there is a big fan, and they knew every single word just like I did. And it made it so special. And they jammed like it was 1,000 people there instead of 15. You know, they played it's like a dream come true pretty much. So the name of the song is My Lucky Day. So that's my number 6.
Metal band likes that Dokken song. Knew he would because he likes real metal from the 80s. Yeah.
Metal Band's a true metalhead, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what I love about Metal Ben, if you hear, is he's not like one of these gatekeeper metal guys where it's like, oh, that's like too poppy or that. Like he listens to all kinds of music, like within the metal genre. But I'm just saying, like to him, Dokken, Whitesnake, he's into that kind of shit too. It's not like all just the growly shit. You know? Or these kids that are like these like 30, you got these like kids in the basement, like just like creating like on the Mofo's metal page, where they're just like ragging on shit all the time and like, oh, this ain't metal, this ain't metal. This is like, you kids, like, you know, in the 80s it was all metal.
Oh, Mr. Scary, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Scary, love it. You know, me and Al saw George Lynch just you know, what was that, like 6 months ago, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. He was great.
When I first got settled in here, that was the first show I went to go see down here. It was with you.
Yeah, it was great. And George did nothing but Dokken songs.
Oh, it was just so awesome.
It was great. It was a great show. But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Back for the Attack, Mr. Scared. It's great shit.
He didn't play nothing off of the Lynch Mob with Ice.
He did one Lynch Mob. He did Wicked Sensation at the end.
He did Wicked Sensation at the end. That was it. Everything else was all Dokken.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool. I like Wicked Sensation. You know, so that's cool.
I guess if you're gonna throw in a Lynch Mob song, that's probably the one to throw in there.
Yeah, that's the one to throw on. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one to go with, you know. But, yeah.
All right, man. My number 6. I can't stand that.
I thought you metal. He talked about the mofos and metal. I find it kind of funny.
It's comical to me. It's comical.
Yeah, I think half those guys are just doing a piss take. I think. I don't.
Oh
know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. I see the shit that they put up, and I just laugh. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
It's like cosplay.
It's like cosplay.
Yeah. It's like kids playing at being metalheads.
All right, man. So my number 6, and I know I'm probably gonna hear the collective groans from like people probably watching this, or eventually they'll see this. Oh, you picked a Van Hagar song. I don't care, dude. I like
my fucking god.
The first song on the Balance album, The Seventh Seal. I love that. I love that song, man. I've always have. You don't like that one, man?
Oh,
You don't like
that
that one.
song rocks. That album is badass.
Me and Andy at least can
Oh,
agree on this.
I never thought this day would happen where I was doing a vidcast with people and I'm actually outnumbered on the shitty balance.
Oh no! Listen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I like Van Hagar better than DLR.
No, that song's horrible. It's like them trying to sound like U2 or something. I do not like it.
No, man. I like that song a lot, dude. I thought lyrically, because Sammy's lyrics are usually cheesy, but I thought this one, when he gets serious about writing a lyric, every once in a blue moon, he can get it right. And I thought this one was a little more, a seriously more written song. He put a little more effort into it, you know. So lyrically, I think it's one of his better efforts. I like the music too. I think Eddie rocks on it. All right, I never really thought of them sound like U2 or anything on the track. I never thought.
To me, I had a little bit of that vibe. Some of the guitar stuff Eddie's doing is a little Edge-esque, and you know, it's like a social conscious song. And yeah. So that to me, I don't know, it had a little bit of that vibe. I mean, hey, it's great. Hey, Al, I think you're a good guy. So if any guy could say he likes that shitty Van Hagar song, it's you. You can
listen. A broken clock is right twice a day. You know what I mean? I mean,
I don't think I think there are a couple Van Hagar songs I like, but that nothing off of Balance.
Oh, I like that one, dude. So I actually think the Balance album was an underrated album. I could cut a few songs from it, but I think like there's some good stuff on it, material on that album. I think so.
5150 and Fuck. I just call Fuck because why not? That's those are the two albums I think have. Like, they're definitely the most decent Van Hagar albums.
All right, Michael, I'm sorry, dude. Sorry, man.
Yeah, Michael, he likes fucking a song from Balance.
I know. Listen, man, don't get me fucking twisted. I'm more of a DLR guy. I don't hate Van Hagar, though, dude. I don't.
Yeah, but even within Van Hagar, that's like bad.
Okay.
I gotta change out my number 2 to something.
It'd be better
else.
if you liked fucking Pound Cake than that song.
All right, the collective groans, you know, I'm hearing them right now, so let's just move on. Bye, Eddie. Go ahead.
Oh, is it my turn? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, my thing's gonna seem really.
Yeah, let's just move on because people are gonna fucking get on my ass.
Yeah, okay. My song's gonna seem really hardcore after your song.
Okay.
Okay, it's fine, but either way, Ralph Vieira would be throwing up because he hates both these artists, Van Hagar and Prince. Prince 7. Yeah. Now, if I had to pick a song 7 in the title, this is like the most 70 of all 7 songs. It's simply called 7. It's just the number 7. That's the name of the song. But I included because, you know, my list, I was like getting into the thematic idea of fate and fortune and stuff. And this song, it's kind of a cryptic song, but it's like some people don't know, like if the 7 represents like the 7 deadly sins or the 7 seals of revelations or the 7 major religions or at the time 7 major record labels. But it's a cryptic song and it's about like, I don't know, it sounds like it's about him like talking about like kind of like a hippie song, like love's gonna be evil. We're gonna get together and we're gonna take down these 7 wicked things, and it's a very spiritual and interesting song, and it was a hit. It was actually, I think, Prince's last hit. I can't think of a song afterwards that.
What album was it on?
This is from the Symbol album.
Oh, the Symbol album. Okay.
Yeah, but this was all. I mean, you know the song, right? I mean, it was a big hit. It was played a lot that year. This was the big hit from the album. Also, Sexy MF was on that album. My Name is Prince. It's a really good album. It's like CD age, so it's a little fat, like there's too much, little over long. But it was the follow up to Diamonds and Pearls, which was a big comeback for him. So this was still he was still a little in that comeback period of the early 90s. Yeah. And 7, was a big video, featured his wife at the time. It was in the video, and it's a great song, really catchy, really interesting, kind of Beatle-esque. Kind of calls back a little bit of the mid-'80s Prince of the Revolution stuff, like Around the World in a Day, like Raspberry Beret, where he was bringing in that Beatle-esque quality a little bit. And this song has that with the acoustic guitar, and it sounds a little like something almost like George Harrison might have done, but mixed in with a little bit of soul and funkiness, you know, and a little bit of a gospel quality too. Really interesting song. it's kind of only song that kind of only Prince would write, to combine all those elements. Like it's a little hip hop, it's a little gospel, it's a little Beatle-esque, like all mixed together. And it's an amazing song. I always love this song. It's one of those songs too. If you haven't listened to it in a while, and you listen to it now, you go like, God, that's such a well-written, interesting, unique pop song. Like when people would write things that were different and like nothing else. And, I'm a big Prince fan. My last video was with Ian Wadley where we reviewed Dirty Mind. And we actually talked a little bit about the Symbol album on that as well. And it's an amazing song. Prince is fucking genius, in my opinion. And this was his last big hit. And it's 7. So there you go. 7. Yeah.
All right, Andy.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Michael Lynch.
Yeah, Michael. Thank you, man.
This has already been mentioned, so I'm not going to dwell on it too long. But it's going to be Dawkins. You just got lucky.
Right on.
Everyone spoke about it the last time around and did a great job about it. I still think that Dawkins is one of the underrated bands in that era. I think that they really should have gotten more kudos for what they did. So, go ahead, Al.
All right, man. My number 5 is a 60s band called Love. 7 and 7 is. That's the name of the song. Now, this song came on my radar because the Ramones covered it on their Acid Eaters album. So that's kind of where they came on my radar. For the time, 1966, when this song was recorded and released, pretty way ahead of its time, actually. The tempo of the song, I remember my bass player friend Stu, he was really into Love and this band, and he used to call this song kind of proto thrash almost, of thrash, of like if the 1960s had thrash, this kind of had the tempo of like a thrash song, really. So the Ramones version, I love that version, and actually then later on, Rush did a version themselves on their Feedback album. They did a cool version of it as well. But yeah, the Love version. Arthur Lee, man, great guitar player. And actually, this song was engineered by Bruce Botnick, who went on to work with the Doors and stuff like that. So they really were kind of ahead of their time, man, the band Love. So I kind of went back and listened to the early version of this song. And I'm like, wow, dude, I could see like a punk band being into it. I could see like all different types of bands being into this band, so they definitely were like a garage band of the 60s, that whole kind of 60s movement. 66 pretty early,
Yeah, I love that song too. That's a great pick. I actually thought of that. That almost made my list. It didn't, but
yeah.
I did think of it. The Love version is my favorite, but I really like the Alice Cooper version too, the one that's on.
Oh, yeah, Alice Cooper does a version of it as well. Yeah,
I like his version too a lot, the Alice Cooper one. But yeah, man, that song was really ahead of its time. It does sound a little proto thrashy, and with the drums, the way it builds up.
It's probably not an easy. I think drummers have said it's kind of not an easy pattern to play to keep up that tempo. It's really throughout the whole song, man. Really, kind of the whole thing. So
that whole album's good too. I actually like that Love album. That's their second album.
De Capo.
Yeah, De Canto. Yeah, that's a really cool album. So really cool, especially if you like shit like the Doors, like the first Doors album.
Like psychedelic, kind of psychedelic, kind of
California garage rock kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was very different for that time.
Oh, yeah.
Very innovative song.
It's a very unique album. It still is after all this time.
Yeah, it's a great album. Yeah, definitely. Really good pick.
Yeah.
All right, man. Number 4, Eddie.
Okay, 4. What was 4? Oh, okay. Rockin', one of my favorite bands, and a great song from an underrated album. That's actually going to be the topic of my next video. AC/DC, Two's Up. Now, Two's Up, it is about luck in a sense, and luck is in the lyrics. There's a line where, let me read the line right here. Lady Luck standing by my side. I'll leave with more than I brought in. Great lyrics, actually. Brian Johnson, some of my favorite, I think some of the best lyrics he ever wrote with the Young Brothers was on this album. This would be the last album to feature his lyrics. And I thought they were
Blow Up Your Video, right?
Yeah, Blow Up Your Video. And I think these were Blow Up Your Video, the whole album. I think they were his best lyrics, since For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. And it's an underrated album. A lot of people don't like it because it has kind of a wonky production. It's like there's a little bit too much reverb on it, and the band doesn't sound as heavy and rocking as you would want them to. But the songs are really good. If you listen to the songs, like they're really smart and well written, and great licks and great hooks and great songs. Nick of Time is one of my favorite AC/DC songs, and Mean Streak's great song. This Means War. Some Sin for Nothing. Really great album. Rough Stuff. I love that song. But Two's Up is another one of my favorites. This song is really dark sounding. Probably one of their most heavy metal sounding songs they ever did. It sounds very 80s metal, but in the best way. And I really love how it sounds. And the lyrics, it's all about. It's hard, like with AC/DC, you assume everything's about sex. So I'm assuming this is some kind of double entendre, but for the life of me, I can't entirely figure it out. I read these lyrics, and I was like, I don't know what this is exactly about, but I know it's got to be about sex because it's AC/DC. But it's also about luck and about you go into like a bedroom with a lady, and maybe sometimes you're lucky with her in bed, and sometimes you're not. I don't know. That's what I'm guessing it's about. But it seems to be it's about luck and sex. It's Two's Up, which is heads and tails. I know that's got to be some kind of double entendre. Yeah. Give me heads, give me tails. It's got to be a Two's Up.
Yeah, knowing Brian Johnson, it is.
Yeah, but great song, and yeah, I love Two's Up, and underrated album.
It is.
Yeah,
I do like that album.
Yeah, right on, metal band. Blow up your video. Totally underrated.
It just sounds a little bit too clean and polished, but you're so right about the lyrics and the music. It's just right on spot.
They could do a remix of that album.
And I actually think that was their comeback album to me.
Yeah, at the time it was a little bit. It did better than the
Heat Seeker was a pretty.
Yeah,
Heat Seeker was a pretty decent single for them, and yeah.
So that was a little bit. It kind of set up the Razor's Edge. It was at the time it was considered a bit of a comeback, but then the Razor's Edge was so big that it kind of got forgotten about afterwards. Yeah.
And I think Razor's Edge is way more polished as well.
Oh yeah, I hate that production. I mean, even
Bruce Fairbairn was not the producer for them.
Yeah, I don't like how he produced them, and I don't like Chris Slade as a drummer for them. Simon Wright might be no Phil Rudd, but I liked him. I like him before. Yeah. He sounds like a human being. Chris Slade sounds like a drum machine to me. Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with that production of the album.
It probably does. Well, true, because he did sound good on the Big Gun single, which Rick Rubin produced. So yeah, maybe I'm being a little hard.
Production has a lot to do with it, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, the drums sound a bit more, drum machine-ish, mechanical.
Yeah. But thinking about it, Chris Slade is playing on Big Gun, and he sounds good on that. Like, that doesn't sound like a drum machine.
Yeah.
Because Rick Rubin produced it. So, yeah. But
all right, great pick.
It sounds better on vinyl, too. I'd recommend listen to it on vinyl. It sounds good on vinyl.
Okay.
I got that one on vinyl.
I have it on cassette, so I'm
that's the worst case scenario.
I got it on vinyl.
But yeah, my next video, which should be out next week, is Fly on the Wall and Blow Up Your Video. Those two albums, and I'm making a case about how I think they're both very underrated. And
they are underrated.
Yeah, they're both really great albums, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, man.
Yeah, my number 4 is by a band I really dig called Dawes. This is off their third album.
Dawes?
Yeah, Dawes.
Yeah, you've heard
them again.
Yeah, you've heard I heard you talking about them.
This song is called Just My Luck. It's about him going to a party, and he had just broken up his girlfriend, and he sees his ex-girlfriend, hanging out with all of his friends, and he's all, well, who the hell am I going to talk to, And then he goes on and on of how it was just his luck that he didn't do what he should have done. Maybe he would be a part of their circle again, but he's not. So, Just My Luck by Dawes. Very, very great writing by them. I believe they're on their 7th album now. This album came out, I believe, like in 2012, I think. I think it was 2012. No, wait, 2014, because they just came out with a 10-year anniversary version of that album. It's remastered. And also added some unreleased tracks on there. So, but that's what I'm going with. My number 4 is Just My Luck by the band Dawes.
All right, man. My number 4, I'm going to the title track of Iron Maiden's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. So to me, that's the last kind of classic album of their classic run. Although I like Somewhere in Time. I kind of stop at Somewhere in Time as like my run with Iron Maiden. I think this was a decent album, but I think they started going a little bit too much into prog territory, in my opinion. But this is actually the longest song on the album. It's close to 10 minutes. It's the epic on the album. The last album to feature Adrian Smith too. But it's I like the song. I do like Seventh Son, Seventh Son. I do like the album too. I know a lot of people shit on it. I don't. I think it's good. I think after Adrian Smith left, it's kind of when their songwriting really started to suffer a bit. But you could find some good things here and there on Fear of the Dark and No Prayer for the Dying. There's a couple of good tracks in those albums, but for the most part, their classic run kind of ended there. And but they had a good run, man. But this was a song. I used to listen to this album a lot, actually, when it was first released. I remember it was a first day purchase for me, like, when it came out, because I was really big into Maiden in the mid 80s to going into the late 80s and shit. So, I had it on cassette, wore the shit out. But that's going to be my number, where were we at? Number 4, right?
Yeah.
Iron Maiden, Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. We'll go to number 3, Eddie.
Well, it is actually, I said there was just one 7 song. I was wrong, and you reminded me because it's one you picked, Al. 7 and 7 is.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I love that song. You everything you said is true. Also has a really great fuzz bass line too. We didn't mention that. I love mid-60s like fuzz bass. But yeah, I really do love that Alice Cooper version too. The Ramones version's good. But I actually like the Alice Cooper one a little bit better. But yeah,
what album is that? What Alice Cooper album is it on?
Special Forces.
Okay.
It was a great album. I love the Blackout period. By the way.
Yeah, it's the Blackout period. Yeah.
Blackout period's very underrated. Talk about underrated. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that period. And
why do they call it the Blackout period? Because he can't remember it or something?
He can't remember. He was doing a lot of crack cocaine. There you go. He's got right there the cassette. That's actually my favorite one of the Blackout period.
Don't ask me why I have it right next to me. But
yeah, that's very cool. Oh, wait, are you going to pick this song as well?
No.
Wow, that's funny that you just happen to have it next to you.
Yeah, because I had bought some cassettes probably about a month ago, and I haven't heard them yet. And this was one of them, Special Forces by them.
But Arthur Lee had something to do with his girlfriend. I think it was like the date he met her, they broke up, or I forget. But I know it had something to do with that. But he elevates and makes it kind of a mystical, trippy thing. And it sounds like a Revolution song to me, but at least that's like the vibe. It's just got this energy to it. But like we said, that's a great Da Capo's a great album. And anyone that's into like mid-60s rock should definitely check out Love. And Arthur Lee, he's one of these guys that kind of like peaked early, Yeah. And didn't do too much afterwards. I haven't really dived too much into later stuff, but those are early. The first 3 Love albums are great, and people should definitely check them out. And yeah, it's a great song. It's just a great song. The Alice Cooper one kind of brings in that kind of a new wavy element to it, punk rock new wavy, but it works, and Alice like really delivers it, in a good way. It's funny, he doesn't remember recording this shit, but he did a great job.
All right, man. What were we on? Number 3, right?
Yeah, that was 3.
Yeah.
I'm going with I think it's really the only one song that they play on the radio for Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Lucky Man.
Yeah. From the first album.
Yeah, from the first album. It really broke him in.
Great song.
With that first album. And then after that, they didn't release anything that went into the radio. But they sure were a very, very good band. Very good band. But there's no other really songs that sound like Lucky Man.
That was probably their most straight up kind of
easier.
A bit more accessible, because they really went prog fucking full on.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of that album too. I mean, and then after that, they really
album's prog,
yeah, and then Brain Salad Surgery. I mean, they really started getting into those epics and stuff like that. But yeah, Lucky Man, that's definitely like probably their biggest radio hit.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
definitely.
Still You Turn Me On was a hit for them as well. That was a good one. I love Greg Lake's voice on that, man. I love his voice in general. I think he had a great voice. So
Yeah, he did.
All right, cool, man. So my number 3, I'm getting heavy again here. Possessed, Seven Churches. So now Possessed, much like I talked about Venom, that's kind of being the whole kind of starting the black metal genre, even though again they're not stylistically, they're not black metal, but they had that kind of element that kind of inspired the black metal genre. Possessed, there's arguments where Possessed Seven Churches, which came out in 1985, is the first death metal album. It's a classic in the genre. Larry Lalonde, who would later go on to play with Primus, was in Possessed, and he's on this album, which I always kind of laugh, when I think about it, like what he became in Primus. It's like, I can't believe like he was in Possessed, playing death metal, but he was, Jeff Becerra, the bass player, vocalist, he kind of came up, he was really like, he had that kind of death metal kind of growl, really kind of one of the first to kind of do it, and that the whole kind of spawn in the genre. Some people will say the band Death, but they predated Death's first album by like 2 years, so really Possessed, Seven Churches, Metal Ben's Lane, and I know he's probably a big fan of this album. I remember this album, man. My metalhead friends had this album when I was in high school, and it blew me away. I never heard anything kind of like it, dude. I was like, wow. Because I heard Metallica and shit like that, but then this was just a whole other level of like extreme metal, you know what I mean? So it kind of spawned that whole, death metal like started here really in Tampa, Florida.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. Death came, and isn't also Morbid Angel also from Tampa? I think
the
whole scene came out.
But I think Possessed was California. I think they were more. Yeah. I think they were.
I feel bad. I feel like I should know. I mean, I know of Possessed, but I don't know if I've actually ever listened to an album. I just a couple of years ago started to get into early death metal. I do like Death a lot, and I do like early Morbid Angel, and I like everything Death did. They even moved. I like when they got into the more prog stuff as well. But I like all their stuff. I like everything that Death did. So I feel like, I should be listening to Possessed.
You should know this album. This is a classic.
Yeah,
it's a classic in the genre. So Seven Churches.
It's a missing link, so I'm going to listen to it after we do this.
Yeah. So Possessed, Seven Churches is the album. So this is the title track from the album. So
both the title track and the
and seven. Seven Churches. It actually is like an 8. I think there's a thing in Asia, actually called Seven Churches. There's 7 churches in Asia somewhere. I was reading up a little bit on it, so I think that's where they got the name of the album from. A kind of those churches really kind of, I think, were like the beginning of like kind of Catholicism. I think that's where Catholicism came from, like those churches there. It's fucking weird actually to think that those churches were in Asia. We would think like Catholicism started in like Roman. Like, where Italy is and all that stuff, but really, not to get into all religious here and shit, but really, that's where they got the name of the album. I think it's a cool name for an album. 7 Churches has an upside down cross on it and all that shit.
Great album cover.
I was like, I couldn't bring that album home. My mom would fucking have an exorcism on me or something.
But it got the red on black. I love red on black. It's like an R-rated movie in the 80s. With the red and black credits. Yeah. So
Possessed, 7 Churches is my number 3. Number 2, Eddie.
Very, very different from Possessed. This is something that Andy picked already. All right, so here we go. But hey, I like a lot of different kinds of music, and I am a big fan of her stuff in the 80s. And yes, if we're talking about songs about luck, to me, this is like one of the greatest luck songs ever. Madonna, Lucky Star. In fact, it's my favorite Madonna song. So I had to pick it. Yeah, I always loved this song since I was a little kid. It's very funky. And she is a soul songwriter on this one. She actually wrote the music too. A lot of people, she wrote everything. She wrote it on a Casio keyboard actually, and came up with the lyrics in her New York little apartment. She came up with this on the Casio. Obviously, the band, the studio band that she plays with on the album, they expanded on it, added guitar parts, stuff like that. But she is a soul songwriter on this amazing pop gem, Lucky Star, one like such a catchy song. And yeah, I don't think she gets enough credit as a songwriter in addition to, and I really love her voice. And I always loved this video too with the white backdrop. And she was, this is where she had the look that all the little wannabes followed afterwards, because this is before Like a Virgin. And and she was very sexy.
I love that first album of hers, man.
That's actually my favorite Madonna album. I love the first. There's something about that album. It's got Burning Up, Lucky Star. There's a vibe to it. It's got like, you wouldn't call it like underground sounding, but compared to all her other stuff, it has a little more of that just New York early 80s vibe to it. That Danceteria New York vibe. And it's got that vibe. That's all I can say. It sounds like when disco's done and new wave is kind of phasing out a little bit, but it's kind of creating the next sound of pop and dance music in the 80s. It really is. A lot like early 80s Prince stuff too. So I love that first album. I could kind of objectively hear that like True Blue and Like a Prayer are like better albums, but there's just something about that first Madonna album. It's like a perfect, funky, fun pop album, not pretentious at all, just really catchy. And I love that whole vibe. And Lucky Star, it makes me think about when I was a little kid bopping around the mall and I'd hear Lucky Star, and it's great. It's a great song. And it puts me in a good mood whenever I hear it.
Yeah, I love that first album. And I'm actually a big fan of the Ray of Light album too. I really like that album a lot. I don't know if you guys ever got into that album or not.
There's some good stuff on it. She's reunited with Patrick Leonard on some songs, Frozen, a lot of the hits actually. And there's some good stuff on it. I like it. I thought she was getting a little pretentious during that period. But some of the music and songs are good on that album, and she, with Will and Morbid, she was experimenting, doing like Bjork kind of stuff. It was cool, I definitely like it better than the shit she would do like after, music had some good stuff too. After Music, I'm like out.
Yeah, that's it. I'm out on her.
Yeah.
That was really the last album that
was the last album that had some good songs.
I paid attention to her.
After that, it's all I'm not into. Yeah. Just dumb club music after that, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Andy. Number 2.
We're at number 3. Am I right?
2, right?
Oh yeah, 2. Wow, 2. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. You got lucky, babe. When I found you. I love the keyboard.
One of my favorite Tom Petty songs, actually.
Yeah. So
that video, man.
Yeah. I'm a big Tom Petty fan, so that had to be on my list. Almost made number 1, and I thought it was going to be number 1, but there's another song in there that I had to put on there. So that's my number 2. You got Lucky by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I remember seeing that video on MTV, bro, and I was like, oh, it's really, really cool video. Kind of like them, kind of in like a wasteland kind of setting, almost kind of like a Mad Max almost in a way, But anyway, that's a great song. I love that song. One of my favorite Tom Petty songs. All right, man. My number 2, I'm going with an underrated Black Sabbath album here, 7 Star. So, and I'm going with the title track, 7 Star.
Oh, that's a good choice. Sorry. I was going to say that's a good choice. I didn't think about that. I forgot. Yeah. Ooh, that might have made my list if I thought about it.
Yeah, Glenn Hughes on this album, and an album I never paid attention to until much later on. Because when I was younger, it was Ozzy or nothing really. I didn't really pay, and except Born Again, I really liked that album too with Ian Gillan. Yeah. After that, I really didn't. I mean, I didn't come into the Dio era song until much later on.
Wow, then, you liked Born Again before the Dio stuff?
Oh, I was. Wow. You know why? Because of one of my friends that I grew up with. I mean, we went to kindergarten up through whatever, man, or finishing high school. He had that Born Again cassette, and I only knew Sabbath, like the Ozzy era stuff. but he had and you know, come on, the album cover with the baby, you know, the devil,
Satan baby.
Yeah.
It intrigued me, man. I was like, duh, and he let me borrow it, and I was fucking like blown away. I was like, holy shit, there actually is like a good Sabbath without Ozzy, you know? There's really only kind of what I knew, you know, Born Again. And then later on, but then as I got, you know, older, and I was like, let me check out these other Sabbath albums, dude, you know. And this one's a very underrated one. It's originally supposed to be supposedly a Tony Iommi.
Yeah, and it kind of sounds like it. It makes more sense.
I mean, he's the only sole original member left on there, you know, so. But shit, man, him and Glenn Hughes make a great team too. I thought Glenn Hughes, and this was during a dark period in Glenn Hughes' career as well. I mean, this is like his blackout. He says he doesn't remember the '80s, the whole decade.
It's funny, well, that tour was like a disaster. Like he they had to stop because Glenn was drinking so much. But it's like last album, it's like okay, we tried one Deep Purple guy. Okay, I'm gonna try another Deep Purple guy. Yeah. You know? Let me mind
the Deep Purple.
That was it. After this, he was like, "No more Deep Purple singers. I'll get some nobody that just sings kind of like Dio."
Tony Warren, or Ray Gillen, and then Tony Warren, whatever. You know,
it's like just sound like Dio. He was a good singer, and don't be a star with an ego, or an alcohol problem.
But Seventh Star, man, underrated album. If nobody's ever really heard that,
it's a great song. This is actually one of the few songs that does sound kind of Sabbathy on it.
Yeah,
you know, this has a Sabbathy sound.
Yeah, so that's gonna be my number 2. I love that song. I love that album now, man. So I have the album somewhere, not by me here, but I mean, I was showing off.
But it's over there.
We're showing off Eternal Idol before.
I agree, it's underrated. I dig it. I discussed it in one of my videos. I feel bad. I forgot it. Pretend it was. It's the 6th honorary mention.
There you go. And now, Andy, ready, man.
Number 1.
Number 1 track.
All right, I like this. It's one of the ones where like luck's not in the title, but it is in the lyrics. And to me, it's like the ultimate like testing luck song. It's testing luck. It could be bad, it could be good. So it's kind of it's a gambling song. And it's from a gambling movie. It's Eric Clapton. It's in the way that you use it. I always love this song. I know some people might think
that's a great song.
It's my favorite Clapton song from the 80s. Definitely my favorite 80s song of his. And I'm a big fan of that movie. That's one of my favorite movies, The Color of Money. It was
that's right.
And it was written for that song. It was actually written. Robbie Robertson, who did the soundtrack, the musical score, was a great score for that movie. Robbie Robertson co-wrote this song with Eric Clapton. And he doesn't actually play on it. Robbie Robertson's not playing on it, but he co-wrote the song. And it was specifically for this movie. And the lyrics, I'll just read the lyrics here. There's one part. It's just like, nobody's right until somebody's wrong. Nobody's weak until somebody's strong. No one gets lucky until luck comes along. Nobody's lonely until somebody's gone. I think great lyrics. And that's like the whole vibe of the song. It's like what you use it. It's in the way you use it. It's like, how are you going to use luck? You know, it's a game, but like all games, it's both a mixture of luck and how you react to it. You know, like you're dealt the hand that you're dealt, but the way you play it is going to dictate if you're going to have better luck or worse luck, you know? And to me, this song kind of captures that. And it could be, I mean, it's about pool in the movie, but it could be anything. It could even be love. It's a metaphor, but how the opportunities you have in life through luck, you know, you can make it, you could get more luck, you know, if you play it right. It's in the way that you use it, you know, and it just has that vibe. I just love it. Whenever I feel down and I feel like I need to get picked up a bit and like, yeah, go for it. This is a song I always listen to. I love it. I think it's great. And Clapton has a great solo on it. And underrated. I think he's underrated as a singer and songwriter. Obviously not.
I love his solo stuff going into the 80s and the 90s. I think he's got very interesting albums. What people might not like about Clapton is that he's not the guitar hero that they want to listen to. You know,
yeah, I think he tried to work against that a little bit because I think he wanted people to think of him more as just a performer,
musician.
Yeah, all around entertainer. I should also mention this is also in addition to the Color of Money soundtrack, it is the lead track from his album August, a great album, which Phil Collins produced and co-wrote a lot of stuff on. Not this song specific, but most of that album is a Phil Collins produced album, and that's a really good album too. When I was younger, used to only like Cream. And I didn't really like anything Clapton did afterwards. Maybe Derek and Dominoes, but like nothing, and like Blind Faith, but nothing post that period. I didn't like his solo stuff. But as I've gotten older, getting kind of like perfect middle-aged divorced guy in Florida music, like suddenly I connected with Clapton. I was like, I get this music. Maybe I'm older, but now I like 70s and 80s Clapton. Like now I'm getting into it, you know. And this song in particular, and that album August is a really cool album. And The Color of Money, check it out. It's a great movie. Martin Scorsese directed it. It's great.
That's
an
a
awesome
really
movie,
good
man.
movie. I like the way that he shot it, and that darkness with
Oh,
the
yeah.
light on the actors or the actresses on each scene.
Nice vibe, smoky lighting, smoky
Man, I
bar.
haven't seen that movie in years, man. I gotta.
Paul Newman's amazing in it. One of his good. And Tom Cruise is really good in
really
it
is.
too. Yeah, great
But,
movie.
Another really good album from the 80s that I like by Clapton was Journeyman. Really good album.
Yeah, that's a good album too. That's his like last one from the 80s. Yeah, it's good. I like pretty much all his albums from the 80s. I think he was fairly consistent. I'd probably go with August is my favorite, but I like all his stuff. Journeyman's really good.
Yeah, I do need to revisit Behind the Sun a little bit.
That's a good one too. That Phil Collins produced that one as well. That's a good one. That's a good one too.
Really, Phil Collins was all over the place.
Oh yeah,
he really was.
He was prolific, man. He was helping a lot of people, and he was like, recording hit songs for people, and like he was very similar to Prince. He was like the white British Prince in a lot of ways.
The white British Prince.
He was like all over everyone's stuff, and there was a real joy of music. Like he would just like be. He was like playing drums too, just as a drummer. He went on tour with like Robert Plant and Eric Clapton. Like even though he was a big deal, he was like. As a pop singer, he didn't mind just being a drummer again, which I thought was cool.
Yeah,
and he was doing Genesis still. He was doing everything.
Yeah, he was busy as hell, bro.
Yeah, he was very busy in the 80s. He knew how to max out his time period. Through the way he used it.
It might have costed him a few marriages, but hey.
Yeah, and I think by the early 90s, everyone was like over Phil Collins. Because he definitely had overexposure.
Yeah, a little bit too much, Phil. Just a touch.
Yeah, by the time it's like, no, we had enough of you in the 80s. You're done. Fuck off.
Yeah, and so in the 90s, he's like, yeah, let me just take a step back. Let me just do movie soundtracks now.
Yeah, probably a smart move. But great stuff in the 80s, and I thought he's a guy that some people love or hate, but I always like Phil Collins. I like this shit. I think he's a really talented guy and great, drummer, songwriter, producer. He could do it all. He's a really talented guy, and he helped change. I mean, that's part of my childhood too. Like just listening to Genesis and Phil Collins. Like I used to hear that stuff all the time.
All right,
my number one is going to be by the Black Crowes. Bad Luck.
It's a mouthful.
It is. Hold on. Bad Luck, Blue Eyes, Goodbye. Got it finally. So thank you. I'm pretty sure Chris Robinson had trouble. I'm pretty sure he had trouble trying to sing it.
Well, when he sings it, he like draws it out. So it's harder to say it, I think, than sing it.
I should have sang it. That's what I should have done. But Bad Luck, Blue Eyes, Goodbye. I mean, everything is just perfect on there. The blues rock feel, the backing vocals in the back by the gospel singers, and Chris Robinson just singing his heart and soul out on that track. It's great. So Bad Luck, Blue Eyes, Goodbye. That's my number one track.
Nice, good choice. Interesting choice. Yeah.
All right, man. My number one. I'm going with their last studio album that they ever put out in 2012. My favorite band of all time, Rush. 7 Cities of Gold from the Clockwork Angels album. I love the way his song starts out with just bass and drums. Geddy's just fucking funky as hell on the bass, man. And And then Alex, the way he comes in with the guitar, just total fucking chaos. Like the first minute, if you really sit down and listen to that song, when you hear the bass line and then you hear Alex feedback in and all this like crazy shit he's doing in the first minute of the song, and then all of a sudden it kicks into this fucking awesome riff. Like one of my favorite songs on the album, man. I think it's like one of the best. If we did a show on Swan Song albums, like bands' final albums, I'm not talking about posthumous stuff, but actual final albums. I think this album would be in the top 10 for me. I think it was a great way for them to go out on, high note. And I was just revisiting this album like not too long ago too, and I was like, wow, man, like really, really good shit on here, man. And the tour was really cool too. It was the first time they ever had outside players. They brought a whole string ensemble with them, and had strings with them and all that stuff. And it kind of really enhanced the album live, man. And I remember them doing this song live, and I loved it. It was one of the highlights of the show for me. They basically did almost the whole album, like on that tour. So, that was the thing about Rush, dude. It's like when they toured, it was always about like, they didn't rely on nostalgia a lot. They did push a lot of the newer stuff. They did what they wanted to do live. And it was really only the last tour was really they didn't tour on anything new material. It was just the final tour, and which was after the Clockwork Angels tour, and they did the whole concert in chronological reverse order, like starting from modern Rush, going back through time, and seeing the stage kind of morph into the time period. I thought that was genius, the way they presented the stage show. It was really cool, man. So, but anyway, my number one is 7 Seas of Gold from Clockwork Angels. Rush. So that's my number one. And now we'll do some honorable mentions, man. You want to do it, Eddie?
Yeah, a lot of them, 3 of them are songs that Andy picked. So there you go, Andy. Ready to listen to this? Wings with a Little Luck. Yeah, it's corny, but I like it. It is a song that makes you feel good. I always like the sound of like late 80s, like late 70s, early 80s synths. I like that sound.
Yeah, oh yeah. Before it got too cheesy.
Yeah, it's a cool song. I like it.
Had a more organic like sound to it.
Yeah, even though technically it's like a digital instrument, but it's being recorded with, it's an analog recording, so it has a warmth to it that they wouldn't have later on. And it's a quirky song. It's kind of a weird, corny song. So that's the thing. But I like it. I like that album actually. London Town, I think it's an underrated Wings album. Black Crowes, Bad Luck. It is hard to say. Bad Luck, Blue Eyes, Goodbye. Really, really good, soulful, sexy blues song from their best album, the Southern Harmony Music Companion.
Oh, yeah,
my favorite album. Yeah. I think most people think it's their best album. Amazing album. I love that album. Kiss, Hard Luck Woman. Great, great song. Deep Purple. I'm surprised no one picked this, actually. Lady Luck from Come Taste the Band. Great album. I would say it's my 3rd favorite Deep Purple album, but with Mark IV, I'd go with In Rock and Burn are my 2 favorites. But after In Rock and Burn, actually, I put this above Machine Head. Like objectively, I can hear Machine Head's better, but I just listen to Come Taste the Band more. I just really like that album. That's definitely the Deep Purple album that's grown on me the most. And it's a good funky song, and it sounds, it's very similar to the kind of stuff they were doing, Mark III as well, but it's good stuff. And keeping it with David Coverdale, Whitesnake did a song very similar in the late 80s with almost the same title called Sweet Lady Luck. So it went from Lady Luck to Sweet Lady Luck on Slip of the Tongue, an underrated Whitesnake album, in my opinion. I really like that album. I think it was stronger than the 87 album. Yeah, I mean, some people don't like Steve Vai plays on it, and a lot of people don't think he really gels with the band. He kind of doesn't gel with the band, but it's still a really cool album. Overall, even though it had some candy-ass singles, it overall is a little more hard rocking with the deep tracks. And there's a great song, one of my favorite Whitesnake songs, Judgment Day. It's fucking
great song.
Awesome song. The title track's really cool, too. He's really hitting some high Robert Plant shit on that stuff too, but there's also a good rocker. Sweet Lady Luck, it's almost kind of like a Dawkins song. It's just a good catchy, traditional metal song, melodic metal song. And I like it. I think it's a cool song. Not quite as good as Lady Luck, the Deep Purple song, but kind of cool. And it's, I guess, a little, maybe it's an intentional homage, or David Coverdale's just not the most original lyricist. It's a possibility. But either way, it's a cool song. And if you haven't listened to Slip of the Tongue in a while, check it out. It's an underrated Whitesnake album, in my opinion.
Yeah, check that out.
Yep.
Oh, it is. No, I like the album. I like the 87 album a bit more, but I thought Vibe performed great on that album, man. I thought, it was, I remember getting that the first day it came out. I remember because I was really into Whitesnake at the time, riding high off of that 87 album. I was kind of, and I was like, wow, Steve Vai's in them? Like, I kind of scratched my head a little bit when I heard that. I'm like, it just didn't sound right, but I thought he performed great on that album, some great shit. So he adapted well, I think, and he did all the guitars on it too, man. Because again, Adrian Vandenberg was injured or something; he couldn't do the album, and that guy had bad luck being in Whitesnake. He was in the band a long time, yet he only recorded one solo on all the on any studio stuff. That was it,
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, man. Andy, what's your
this is where my sevens are. I got about 4 or 5. Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. I love the White Stripes. I did see Jack White's solo, which was a good show. Seventh Seal by Van Halen off of Balance.
I'm trying to get rein it in.
Seven Bridges Road by the Eagles. I love that track. They do it live on Eagles Live 80. It's a really good song. And Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden. So those are my honorable mentions. Oh, right, did I mention Seventh Seal by Van Halen?
I mentioned that or not? That song's so bad it makes the Maiden one sound better. I'm not into that song so much, but it's all right. But it's better than the Van Hagar one.
All right, man. I mean, all right, so my honorable mentions. I mean, not every song has the word luck in it, but it has to do with like luck and stuff like that. So first one's Thin Lizzy, Hollywood, Down on Your Luck from the Renegade album. Great track, man. Love that album. Very underrated Lizzy album, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like it too. Good album.
Motley Crue, Keep Your Eye on the Money. If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Like the stock line is in there. It's one of my favorite songs actually on Theater of Pain. And I'm a Theater of Pain fan. I like that album. Yeah, not as much as the first two, but I do like that album. And I like it better than Girls Go Girls and Dr. Feelgood. And,
by far.
So I think I like that song. Rolling Stones, Tumbling Dice. I think that's a great song. I think, I just love that song. I put Doc and Just Got Lucky in there. It's one of my
okay, so it's all been represented.
And also from Tesla's second album, The Great Radio Controversy, Lady Luck. It's another song called Lady Luck.
A lot of songs called Lady Luck.
Yeah. Awesome song.
I thought about that one. It didn't make the cut, but I thought about that. That's a good roster. That's one of their heavier songs. Actually.
Oh yeah. So that's my honorables, man. So I got 5 there. So yeah, that's the show. Andy, what do we got going on next week?
Are you really sure you want to hear this? Okay, what I've got going on for next week is going to be a vinyl battle of 1986.
Earmuffs, Eddie. Earmuffs.
I have a feeling that Van Hagar is going to be mentioned.
David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile versus Van Halen 5150, track by track. We'll see which album is the better album.
Well, I ain't gonna watch it because there's no fucking way that the greatest David Lee Roth album doesn't be. I get the greatest Van Hagar album, but that's like night and day.
So that's what we got on tap for next week.
Well, see,
I would want to do that one for quite some time.
Well, the interesting thing about this is when you go track by track and compare them, sometimes the story gets told a little different.
Yeah, it does.
For me, I talked about this the other week about summer albums.
Yeah.
When we were talking about summer albums, and summer of '86, both those albums were big summer albums for me. David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile, and 5150. To me, now I talked about it, and I was like, Eat 'Em and Smile has aged better for me. It's aged better than 5150 for me. I think the production on 5150 has kind of dated it. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see. When we do track by track, it tells a different story. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching that, and I'm going to be weighing in if I'm around. I will definitely be weighing in. I'll watch it. I'm either watching it that night or like.
Well, the Seventh Seal isn't on it, so at least that has it going for it.
I mean, 5150 actually, I don't dislike. Actually, yeah. I mean, I don't like as much as any David Lee Roth era album, of course, but for what it is, for like a mid '80s glossy like pop rock album, it's decent. There's some really good songs like Summer Nights. It has its moments, but it's can't compete with that fucking masterpiece by David Lee Roth and Ted Templeton with Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan. I mean, come on, that's what amazing out. I like Eat 'Em and Smile better in 1984. Actually, I think it's amazing. So yeah.
And coming up on a future show. I'm sorry, Andy. No, go ahead. Finish.
Oh no, man, I'm done.
Coming up on a future show, we're gonna have Tim Derling. He sent me this book on Kansas. We're gonna have him on for an interview, probably after the next week, probably, right, Andy?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pencil him in in 2 weeks, so and see if his schedule permits it. But yeah, he was kind enough to send me this book, man. He reached out to me and he was like, "Can I send you the Kansas book?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, man. I mean, I definitely would." He has a YouTube channel called Tim's Final Confessions. Great channel. And he's been on like Sea of Tranquility. He's been part of kind of in that group of people too. He's had Martin Popoff on his show and stuff like that. So it'd be kind of cool to have Tim on, And I think
that Hudson Squares that they do as well.
Yeah, Hudson Valley Squares. So I think he's been on there. So, but it's gonna be cool having Tim on, man. He's a cool dude. I've talked to him like kind of offline and stuff. So, I'm gonna pencil him in for an interview. So that would be in 2 weeks. That'll be our show on Tuesday. But yeah, next week will be a vinyl battle between Eat 'Em and Smile and 5150. So anyway, that's the show for tonight.
With Metal Ben, I agree with you. Even though I do like that album, Slip of the Tongue, I do not like that re-recording of Fool for Your Loving. That sucked. And unfortunately, that's what they led with. That was the single. The band wanted to go Judgment Day. They should have listened to the band. Judgment Day would have been a great first single for that album. Yeah. But instead, they went for that limp re-recording of Fool for Your Loving, which is not nearly as good as the original version. Yeah, much better. But it's still a good album, I think, despite that shitty remake of Fool for Your Loving.
Well, that seemed to be kind of like they were following the blueprint of.
Yeah, because it worked well in '87. But the '87 album, they did the 2 re-recordings, and one was one of their biggest hits. I think it worked. I like those re-recordings on '87. But this case just didn't work.
It didn't work. Yeah.
No, it took away the edginess.
Yeah, the blue and also the bluesiness of the first one.
That original one, yeah. What was the original one? Saint and Sinner? Is that what was on? Or
no, it's the one. What's the one?
Come and Get It? No,
not Come and Get. The one right before that. Ready and Willing.
Ready and Willing. Okay.
Yeah, gotcha. Ready and Willing. It's from that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All the early albums are great, by the way. They kind of blend in a little bit, but they're all good. Come and Get. Yeah. My favorite is the Slide It In. But to me, that's like perfect because that's kind of the bridge between the two eras. But all the early '80s shit's really good. Definitely listen to more early '80s Whitesnake, everyone. Yeah. It's good shit. Right. I did videos about it. I did a lot of videos about Whitesnake, so check that out too. Check out Eddie's channel. Go ahead, plug it, man. Yeah, hey, if you want to see me talking about Dokken and Whitesnake, check out some of my old videos. And I got a cool one coming up, so look out for that. Next week I should be dropping. I'm halfway through editing it. The Fly on the Wall, Blow Up Your Video extravaganza. It's me for an hour talking about those two albums in detail. Like I go really deep into it. So looking forward to it. I don't get to make the videos. I don't have time to do them as much as I did in the past. But when I do them, I try to make them something special. And I think this is going to be a fun one. I think people are going to like it a lot. And especially if you like those two albums, you know, you'll really like it because you don't get to hear people gush over those two albums too often. So
yeah. And the great thing about Ed's videos is that when he talks about certain albums that he loves, he really does show off the love for the album and the knowing the album inside and out and giving the history and just really gets deep into and tells you everything you really need to know. So he really does a great job of that, Eddie.
That's the writer in him.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for coming on the show, Eddie. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Always fun talking to you guys. My two brothers. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to the Doobie Brothers tomorrow, so if I'm not around tomorrow or the next day, you know why.
Are you getting high?
Brothers.
Are you gonna be smoking some marijuana?
Which doobie you be?
Has anyone seen the Doobie Brothers without getting high? Is this a thing?
Well, you know, I'll probably get a contact high, I'm sure. But you know, anyway, that's gonna be my tomorrow, and that's it, man. That's it for tonight. So, guys, I appreciate it. Andy, take us out, bro.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for watching Black Square Circle. Thanks again to our wonderful guest, Edwin kind of Strachey, and check out his show on YouTube. It's a wonderful show, and also check out his podcast, Rock All Over You Podcast, along with his great buddy Eric. So we will see y'all next week. Y'all take care, guys, and rock on. Bye, y'all.
Cheers.
Rock on.
Have a good night.
Good night, y'all. And stream.